This has got to be one of the strangest company policies that I've seen, and it involves Uber. If you ever take an Uber, you'll probably be interested in this. And it's another thing that I found on X, and so as usual, I check to see if that it's real, because I don't always trust everything that I read online. But when it comes from the company themselves, it's obviously true, and you can interpret it as you wish. So let's take a look at this. But even before we dive into that, whilst you're subscribing to the channel, which I'll be very grateful to you for doing, do remember to take a look at this video here that I published a few days ago. Will the Home Office appeal, as in against the asylum hotels, succeed? I've got my views on that. I think that's absolutely vital for you to look at, because that will affect a lot of people. Please do go and watch that. I'll link it in the description and I'll pin it in a comment. Go and watch it after this one. But now let's take a look at what I'm talking about here, because I saw on X that somebody was talking about the Uber policy for women rider preferences. Now, what on earth does this mean, and how might this affect you? Well, first of all, this is targeted ostensibly at the drivers, or the lessors as they call them, because they work as drivers and they are a lessor under this agreement. Now, this is where they can set, the drivers can set a woman rider preference. So let's take a look at what this means, because it's not quite as simple as it might seem at first. When you read the wording, you think to yourself, this is really quite bizarre. It says the women rider preference allows lessor partners, drivers, who identify as women or non-binary to set a preference for picking up women users, obviously passengers. First of all, I find that a bit bizarre out of the gate, because actually, if we pop over to support for Uber riders and search female, or male for that matter, there's no search results at all. So there's no guidance for riders to set any preference for male or female drivers or lesser partners to Uber. So why is there such an option for their drivers? But it gets even more strange than that, and there's a legal angle to it, which I'm going to come to in just a moment. Now, this says that the drivers can open the app, use the three horizontal lines, go to Trip Planner, go to the preferences, select women riders, and enable or disable for women user preference. And then it says you may receive fewer leases whilst you use the feature, etc. Then just get a load of this wording. It's really bizarre. In my view, it's really bizarre. With all respect, I think it's quite bizarre. Uber cannot guarantee that all users you are matched with whilst using this feature will be women, or appear in the way that you would identify as a woman. This is, bearing in mind, this is whilst the drivers are using the feature where they are, as it says here, identify as women or non-binary. So just to be absolutely clear about that, this could be a biologically male driver setting this preference. So with great respect, a man setting this preference who identifies as a woman or non-binary. So a man who identifies like that is setting this preference to only pick up women. Let's read on. So it says it cannot guarantee that all users will be women in a way that they appear or would identify as a woman. Then it goes on. If you are matched with someone you believe is a male user whilst using this feature, you may cancel the lease and select I selected trips with women as your cancellation reason. Now there I'm going to stop and pause for thought for legal input here. This is my view based on this, based on the law, based on the recent Supreme Court ruling. I believe that this is at risk of being discriminatory here, because it is potentially treating women less favorably, or even men less favorably, because it is treating them differently in that it is allowing the driver to cancel a trip with men, whilst simultaneously it is likely that women will be disproportionately selected and then therefore picked up by riders who may be men, biologically speaking, but does not give the rider the choice to choose the driver's biology. So this, I think, has a number of problems here. So first of all, it allows the driver to cancel the trip if they are matched with a man saying that they selected women riders. And secondly, the disproportionate matching of women riders with male, biologically male drivers may indirectly discriminate against women. Or arguably, it is direct discrimination, because it is a blanket policy which drivers can select which discriminates on the basis of sex, which is a protected characteristic. And following the Supreme Court ruling, making it absolutely clear that service providers that provide a service which is separated by male or female must be based on biology, albeit this doesn't do that, what it is doing is allowing the drivers to select a sex preference of whom they pick up. And therefore, it will disproportionately affect women, in my view. Reading on, because we're not even quite done yet. It says, this helps communicate the concern back to Uber. So the concern that someone may have been matched with the system who is a man that they cancel because they appear to be a man and they only want to pick up women, this will communicate back to Uber. If you cancel at the indication location to initiate the lease, this will not count against your cancellation rate and you'll not be charged for the cancellation. That's obviously drivers' policies of cancellation charges and so on. Note that a woman may request a lease and bring male companions with her so long as she's present during the lease as well. Again, very, very strange policy, this. Then it goes on. Please be mindful that the Uber community is remarkably diverse, including people of all gender and identities and expressions. And then my own highlighting here, some women users may not express their gender or appear in the way that matches their perception of femininity. To access the Women Rider preference, you must sign a form to certify that your recent gender update in-app is an accurate representation of your identity. So what does that mean? I mean, it just means that they go into this sign the form thing here and declare that, yes, my recent update is accurate and that they are declaring their latest gender as an accurate representation of their identity. Takes them to a DocuSign thing, they fill in their name and address and so on. They go through and they sign a declaration to say, yes, my identity is female, even if they're biologically male, and therefore they can turn the Women Riders feature only on and therefore disproportionately pick up women. So to summarize, and with great respect, what this could mean is that a biological man driving for Uber can select that they only want to pick up women. And yes, statistically, some people will take advantage of that. And this is not to say that some people are not going to use that properly, as I presume it's intended by Uber. But it is, of course, statistically possible that some people are going to abuse that. And I also think that there are problems here with potential discrimination, both against men and women riders, especially given that there is no such support or guidance documents or ostensibly no choices, preferences available for male, female users either. I think this is really bizarre. Let me know if you've even knew about this, because maybe if you're a woman getting into an Uber, you didn't know about this. Maybe this is something you want to think about. So all of these are questions, just my views based on what I read here, based on my knowledge of the law and the recent Supreme Court ruling. I think this is a problem, but let me know what you think and how you would feel in the comments below. And now, just as a reminder, if you wanted an update as to the government appeal against the use of hotels for migrants, go check out this video below, and thank you for watching.